Okay, so it should be recording now. And okay, so thanks everyone for joining this this webinar. My name is Giulio Mazzolo from Fondazione Icons, which is the partner in charge of the communication and dissemination activities of the Urban GreenUp project. I will now share quickly my screen. Just 1 second. Okay, can you see my slides now? Okay, so thank you again for joining this webinar. This is the first of a series of 3 webinars, actually, where with our frontrunner cities, Valladolid in Spain, Liverpool in the UK, and Izmir in Turkey, we will have a look at some of the best nature-based solutions they have implemented in their city over the course of Urban GreenUp. And this is the first one on renaturing urbanization. This is the agenda. So we will start with a brief introduction to Urban GreenUp from our coordinator, Raúl Sánchez from Cardiff. We will then have an invited speaker, Laura Ribota from the city of Turin. She will present us the project, which is one of the fellow projects of Urban GreenUp. And then we will start with our frontrunner cities. So we will first have a presentation from Alicia from the Valladolid City Council in Spain. We will then go to Liverpool with Juliet from the Liverpool City Council. And then we will have Sinan from the Izmir Metropolitan Municipality talking to us about what they've done in Izmir. And then at the end, we will have 15 minutes time for discussion and question from the audience. So I think we can start. And the first one to present will be Raúl. So I will now give you the right to share your screen so we can then start with your presentation. Just 1 second. All right. So Raúl, you should be able to share your screen now. And I suggest that only the person who is speaking share the camera, so we can turn off our cameras and leave Raúl present. Thank you.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. Thank you, Julio, for your kind introduction. First of all, it's a pleasure for me to have the opportunity to welcome all of you to the Urban GreenUp Nature-Based Solutions webinar series. This is our first webinars. It's about the number 1 webinars about Renaturine urbanization. As I said, this is our first webinar. Okay, and we have the collaboration of our colleague Laura Ribota from Turin City Council, and also from the ProGRED project. Many thanks for supporting us, Laura. And in this occasion, I'm going to share an overall view of the project, but mainly through our speakers, we are going to know, and we are going to share the most innovative nature-based solutions implemented in our cities, and the most relevant Renaturine experience related specifically to the Turin city and our frontrunner cities, Valladolid, Liverpool, and Izmir. And as I mentioned before, I would like to comment briefly our project. The project belongs to the program Horizon 2020, and specifically to the topic about demonstrating innovative nature-based solutions. The project started the 1st of June of 2017, and it is foreseen to finish in May of 2022. But we are involved in an amendment process to ask for a extension, 1-year extension of the project, because the coronavirus has affected deeply the development of the project. So we are negotiation with the European Commission, the extension of the project. The total eligible cost of the budget of the project is around 15 million euros, with an European contribution around 14 million euros. The consortium has 25 partners with municipalities, RTD entities, technology centers, universities, SMEs, and large industries, non-profit organizations, and also public bodies. And we have involved in the project 9 nationalities: Spanish, English, Turkish, German, Italian, Portuguese, Chinese, Vietnamese, and Colombian people. About the project pretends to demonstrate an innovative methodology to Renaturine cities. We have developed in the project the concept of Renaturine urban plan in order to include this concept into the urban plannings, and we are going to do this through nature-based solutions or with the nature-based solutions intervention. Of course, we are going to consider new technologies in order to fight towards the adaptation of the cities in fight against climate change. For this, we need in a very simple structure, we need to identify the city challenges specifically related to climate change, because you know that there are several city challenges related to other topics. We need to involve and to engage the main stakeholders. We are going to demonstrate our activities and the Nbs implementation is in our 3 demo sites, Valladolid, Liverpool, and Izmir. Of course, we need to evaluate and to replicate these activities at European level in our case, and we have to develop, or we have to apply an interdisciplinary approach with different methodologies. And finally, as an essential topic, we are involving social science and humanities through a collaborative processes. In this slide, you can see the worldwide dimension of the project. We have, as I mentioned before, 3 front-runner cities as demonstrative as demonstrative sites: Valladolid in Spain, Liverpool in the UK, and Izmir in Turkey. We also have 5 follower cities. 2 European follower cities: Ludwigsburg in Germany and Italy, Mantova in Italy, and also we have Medellin in Colombia, Chengdu in China, and Binh Quy in Vietnam as non-European follower cities. Regarding the nature-based solutions implementation in the project, it is foreseen to implement around 100 of nature-based solutions among the 3 front-runner cities. I mean green roofs, green walls, vertical gardens, shoots, urban forests, pollinator walls, pollinator modules, many nature-based solutions. The urban greenup actions or implementations, it's allocated in different sub-demo areas in each front-runner cities, and we have categorized the interventions in 4 overall categories: Renaturine urbanization, water interventions, singular green infrastructure, and non-technical interventions. And as you see, we have also allocated the different nature-based solutions in these specific categories. About the impact of the project, well, it's foreseen to generate or to create a new global nature-based solutions market with new economic opportunities, green jobs. Also, we want to increase the awareness of the benefits of nature-based solutions for Renaturine cities. We want to enhance stakeholders and citizen participation. We want to foster the creation a framework about healthier and greener cities. Of course, we want to increase the international cooperation, the implementation of European environmental policies to improve living conditions and biodiversity, improving also mobility conditions in cities. We want to create more livable cities. And that's all from my side. Just to thanks also and again to our speakers, Laura Ribota from Turin City Council, Alicia Villazan from Valladolid City Council, Juliet Staples from Liverpool City Council, and from the Izmir Metropolitan Municipality, our colleague Berna Ataman and Sinan Alper. That's all. So the virtual floor is yours. Thank you. Thank you very much for attending the webinar.
Thank you very much, Raul, for your presentation. And I remind the audience that if you have any questions, you will have the chance to ask them at the end of the webinar when we have the Q&A question session. And now we will go to Turin with Laura. Thanks again, Laura, for accepting this invitation and for presenting your project here at our webinar. I will now give you the chance to share your screen. Just 1 second.
Yes, hello everybody, and thank you for your invitation. I'm Laura Ribotta. I'm from the city of Torino. I'm an environmental engineer and I work for the Innovation and European Fund departments. And I hope you can see my presentation.
Yes, I can see it now. I can see the browser. And now it's loading in slideshow. Exactly. Okay. Now I see.
Perfect. So I'm here to present the ProduReg project that has a particular implementation in Turin. And what are project aims of ProduReg? For us, nature-based solutions are for the post-industrial regeneration. We are all cities with a post-industrial past. And frontrunner cities are implementing in their living lab the Nbs, and the follower city are replicating them in their plans. And a crucial aim is to spread awareness, like you said before. We are 8 cities, 34 partners, and we choose to implement 8 types of nature-based solutions. This is the overview of the project. Torino, Zagreb, Dortmund, and Ningbo in China are frontrunner cities. And we have also some follower cities that are Cluj-Napoca, Zenica, and Piraeus. Those are our Nbs. You can see titles of Nbs, but I will go after more in deep to understand what they are. Torino decided to implement 7 of those Nbs, and we will see what we really did. This is a map that you can find for all frontrunner cities on the website of ProduReg that explain in our living lab. This is the map of the district of Mirafurisud. That is a district in the south of Torino, and you can see a big rectangle, gray rectangle in the area. It's the plant of Fiat, former Fiat, now Stellantis. Then it's a district with a past, but with a present in the industrial field. And we did all of those Nbs all around the district. We have also some video who can show to you more precisely what we are doing and who is involved. Because in those videos we gave the word to everybody is involved. And we have also a WebGIS map, and you can go through it after my presentation and if you want more information. And this is our first Nbs. It's about an artificial soil. The problem, we have the solution because we have a problem. The problem in this case is that the city, when have to made a new park, needs fertile soil, good soil. And every time we have to stall it from countryside, because in a city like Torino, we have no good soil inside. This is an experiment to use soil from deep excavation in the city, mix it with compost from organic waste, and use some new and innovative biostimulants and zeolites to compose a new artificial soil. And now that is now this test is under control from university and environmental park that are our research partners in the project, and we are looking for this circular solution, if this circular solution can be applied in other sites of the city. And we call it new soil. This is a nature-based solution to rediscover the historical and cultural heritage of the district, because here there was a castle and now there are only some ruins, but we planted these plants and some roses, and we want to tell with this Nbs to all citizens, to all tourists that will come, that this is a cultural place also, and we want to say it with the nature. This is a traditional Nbs because it's they are gardens. The particular of this place, the particular things of this place is that it was an abandoned field owned by the city, and an association asked for it, and they did 160 allotments. They are rented it to citizens, but they are growing a big community with them. For example, they give them also some services like the water, the meteo station that is connected to the watering system, but also a lot of events, a lot of courses, a lot of activities to grow the community. And they have also a common place where they have common gardens where for association, for vulnerable people, for schools. They have also a bar and restaurant that are like in the name of circular economy, also about food. Here we have another abandoned place that was an industrial building and it's owned by the city. The city for now has no money to refurbish it all. We decided to do 2 Nbs, in particular a gardening box in the courtyard and a piece of green roof. Oh, sorry, of a piece of green roof, and we started to use this place, to use in the external part that are safe, and we signed a pact of collaboration with 4 local NGOs to use it, but more important, the city decided to reuse the building with the help of some private subject that can collaborate with these 4 local NGOs. Then we decided a new vocation, a new direction for this abandoned building with those 2 Nbs, little Nbs. We did a gardening box for 8 schools with the help of Fondazione Mirafiori, that is our partners in Project. We did also some little experiment in other school with little gardens in little boxes, also for pre-primary school. We did the gardening box also in public spaces between houses to involve citizens to go down from their houses and to meet people and to do something concrete with their hands. We have also some 2 experiments of aquaponics that are starting. And we refurbished this green roof that was not accessible, and now it is. We did a green wall in a school, primary and middle school. And the Polytechnic of Torino is assisting them in an educational pathway. we did a green wall outdoor in a dormitory for homeless. This is the green roof I mentioned before in the same industrial building. And here you can see the picture. And this is a green corridor. We involved all associations that are along this green corridor in the co-design, but also now in the co-maintenance. You can see the first point we opened of these green corridors with those all peoples and our politicians also present. And Fondazione Mirafiori, that is our partner, organize usually some walks around the district of project to show all our MBS to people. And we are trying to attract private sponsorship for new green in this area, for example, in Mirafiori, but also in other areas of the city. And this is a particular MBS because it's about butterfly, but it was born from the meeting of the University of Torino and the Mental Health Center of Torino. They decided to involve 10 vulnerable people with mental illness, and those people became expert of butterflies. And now they are going in schools to teach to children the life of butterflies and what can we do to allow butterfly go in our gardens. The important thing is that for those children, they can see some adults that are teaching in general, and they don't know who is the researcher, who is the educational people, and who is the vulnerable people. I think it's the more interesting part of this project. And that's all for now from Project and from Torino.
Thank you very much, Laura. Great presentation. Thanks a lot. And okay, so now we can go to our next speaker, who is Alicia. So now I will give you the right to share your screen.
Thank you, Julio.
Okay.
Okay,
okay.
I'm ready.
You can start. Thanks.
Yes. There you have the presentation, don't you? Okay, let's
yes,
go to the
see it.
Thank you, everyone, for being here with us. And
Sorry, can you maybe put it like in presentation mode, if it's okay?
Because
I mean, we can see it well. But...
This is PDF.
Ah, okay, okay, okay. Thanks.
Okay, I'm sorry that you will see it maybe a little smaller, but I'm using the PDF because of some issues with the presentation. So yeah, my name is Alicia and I work for Valladolid City Council, and I'm responsible of the Urban GreenUP project here in Valladolid, that we are our one front runner city for this project. And I will share with you some examples of our MBS related to Renaturine, and I will explain to you about what we have done with Renaturine cycle lane, planting new trees, our urban carbon sink, the green resting areas, and with what we have done with the urban orchards. And I will explain 7 of our 42 native solutions that we are implementing in the city. So I will show you several pictures because we don't have much time. Related to Renaturine cycle lane, we are working on building some kind of green corridor that will allow the people from Valladolid to cross the city from west to east with a cycle lane connected and renatured. So we are constructing now currently, because we are now on works and constructing this small parts of cycle lane to connect the whole green corridor of the city, and the total length is going to be 80 kilometers. So you can see here several photographs of the works. Some of them I have taken them yesterday and a couple of weeks ago. So on the right, you can see the green corridor, the starting of the green corridor. It's close to the football stadium and the city. And there you can see the different sketch of the green corridor that we are now, as I mentioned, in works. We have also been planting, thanks to the Urban GreenUp project, several new trees. We have already planted 2,000 and almost 400 new trees in the city, in several places and in several phases, because we struggled several times with the spring because it came earlier than expected. So we needed to stop planting, because, as you know, it's better planting during autumn and even in winter. So we are implementing new trees, in 1,000 trees along the green corridor, which is this idea of cycle lane Renaturine that I have already told you. And yes, in different spots. Some of them are more urban, some of them are already in parks. And every time that a new road in Valladolid is refurbished and we make new roads and new urbanization, we plant more and more trees in the city. We also plant more trees, 500 trees in the leisure area next to the football stadium at the west of the green corridor. You can see here several photographs. You know, when we plant the trees, they are like 17 centimeters length, but they will grow in the next years. We have been already planting new trees exactly in the city center, which has been quite difficult, because we are a city, Valladolid is a city from the Middle Age, and it's very difficult planting new trees. But as I mentioned, every time we change something and we re-urbanize the city, we plant more and more trees. And some other examples of the trees that we have already planted. Then I will show you what we are doing in our new urban carbon sink in the neighborhood of Santos Pilarica, which is exactly at the east of the green corridor. This is a small map of the carbon sink. It's a municipal plot of 4,000 square meters, and we are planting more than 2,000 new trees. We have decided for different types of trees related with, most of them will be forest trees like Pinus or Quercus, which are species especially adapted to our climate. But we will be also implementing Hygrophilous trees, which are keen on with water, because this carbon sink is being constructed very close to one of the rivers of the city. We are planting also some fruit trees like Prunus or Sorbus, and different areas of transitional mixed trees with Celtis australis or Fraxinus. And we will build also this educational path in the carbon sink. This is quite interesting because we are registering this project as a carbon dioxide absorption project at the Spanish Office for Climate Change. So we will be sure that no one will touch this new forest in the next 30 years in the city. So you can see here several photographs of the plot. In fact, we are starting this week to plant the trees, but you can see there are several previous activities, such as adding the smart soil as substrate. I will give you more information in a minute about what is this. And you can see that this is an urban plot. It's quite difficult for the cities finding new open spaces and public spaces that belong to the municipality, and this is one of the biggest plots that we have, as I mentioned, for hectares in a public plot, and it's quite close to a neighborhood and new developments of the city, which are Santos Pilarica at the east. And here we have been adding smart soil, similar to this new soil that Laura already told us. It's a specific soil and a special soil built from byproducts of the agriculture industry, but also with biochar. It has a 10% of biochar, which makes a specific soil that retains contamination from the atmosphere. We have already supplied in here like more than 600 square meters of this new soil in this plot. As you can see also that the educational path to disseminate and engage citizens, because we also believe that it's important that the citizens know a little bit more about nature and nature solutions, and we expect finishing this part in 1 month. The green resting areas, I can show you also real photographs because we are now also on works, but it's a specific area for leisure and enjoying for the citizens that can sit and enjoy the landscape, and they can let the bike in a bike parking, and they will have like different tree shade area with a water fountain, a pollinator module, and 2 resting structures with climbing vines, so they will be completely covered by plants and benches and so on. So the idea, the 3 of them are being located along the green corridor. So everything in the Urban GreenUP project, everything is connected. And what we have done in the urban orchards, we already have urban orchards, and thanks to the Urban GreenUP project, we have made some improvements, like installing an automatic drop irrigation system, and also providing some shadow places for the orchards from the people that is using these municipal orchards. And also we have implemented community composting facilities to provide these new places for making compost that will be then used in the same orchards. So that's all for now. That's what I have to show you about our Renaturine activities in Valladolid. Thank you for attending.
Thank you very much, Alicia, for this presentation. So now we can go to our next frontrunner city from Urban GreenUP, which is Liverpool. Hi, Juliet. I see you're there.
Hello.
And I will share my screen with your slides. And then you can tell me when I have to change the slides. So just 1 second. I will share my screen. Okay, you should now see my my screen, right, with your slides.
I can, thank you. Thank you very much for that, Julio.
You're welcome.
Hello, yes, thank you everyone. So I am Juliet Staples. I work at Liverpool City Council. I lead the Liverpool Consortium for the Urban GreenUp project, and I'm going to talk about some of our approaches to renaturing urbanization. Specifically, I'm going to talk about some of our tree planting in soft ground, some tree planting in some of the hard landscapes, and a little bit about some of the urban carbon sinks we've also created. Next one, please, Julio. So starting with the trees in the soft ground, we've planted trees in all sorts of different areas of soft ground and green space across the city. We've planted trees in leftover or small amenity spaces. We've used trees as well to infill in verges between existing trees alongside highways. And we've also worked with organisations such as housing providers to provide trees in the front gardens of some of those properties to create leafy streets. So this work has been delivered in-house through the City Council, and also in partnership with people like the housing organisations. Apart from the benefits of carbon storage and oxygen production from the trees are also helping to improve local air quality, provide habitat, helping to reduce surface water flooding, providing cooling, shading, quite often a sense of space, and also assisting with well-being and mental health. And in some cases, they have actually also reduced the need for mowing. Next, please. We've taken the opportunity as well to plant trees in soft ground also within our city parks. So the image on the left, the mixed orchard, This consists of 14 trees, and it's not just the usual pear and apple trees that we would traditionally plant in the orchards. We've included things like walnuts, hazels, mulberry trees, and the template of planting here has actually created something that we are now replicating in other parks across our city to add biodiversity. The picture on the right is some smaller trees that have gone into a city park, and this is quite important because it's allowing us to create an age structure within the growing trees there and different habitats and biodiversity. And again, this work was delivered in-house, and additional benefits, the free fruit and nuts, for example, available in the mixed orchard. These areas both provide good opportunities for outdoor learning, and importantly, we've been able to engage with our Friends of Park groups in delivering these as well. Next, please. Planting trees in hard landscapes is actually much harder than planting in soft spaces. And this particular example is of some trees that have been retrofitted as part of a highways program. So these trees are also providing an additional function, which is that of a sustainable urban drainage system. So the way this works is that at the bottom there, you can see the trees are planted in a line, and the top left picture shows the construction of this. So the trees go into a plastic caged soil filled system, and the picture in the middle shows how that enables the tree roots to go down and also across so that they can actually access more soil. The way these trees are working in the city is that during periods of wet weather or when there's a lot of heavy rainfall, the water from the adjacent roads is channeled through that run of trees, and that has a number of benefits. So as the water runs through the trees, it's retained by the soil and used by the trees. So it actually stores quite a lot of water for us. As the water runs through the soil, it's also slowed down and it's also filtered and cleaned. So by the time the water has run through the 8 trees in this particular example and is going to drain, it is reduced in volume, it is slowed in flow, and is actually much cleaner. And there is also quite likely to be more space available in the drains once the peak flood has passed from elsewhere. And we've also, these trees provide shade and cooling. We've had some birds nesting in them last summer, and we've also taken the opportunity to put this work immediately outside some of the key city buildings and to complement it with permeable paved areas as well. Next, please. As part of the same scheme here, you can see on the left, we've planted some filter trees, which now separate the highway carriage and in the foreground, the new cycle and pedestrian route that has gone in as well. And these trees will help to filter some of the local vehicle pollution, we hope. And then the picture on the right is just off this scheme. There are some small areas of open space. We have some shade and cooling trees that have been planted here with the benches. And again, we've also sought to include permeable paved areas as well. Next, please. This plan view shows an overview of that system, and unfortunately I don't have access of the screen to show you, but in the very middle, either side of, in between the roads, are sustainable urban drainage trees. But you can see that the green dots along the edges of the road also represent up to 130 other trees that are also planted in the silver cell or that plastic framework construction. They form part of a much larger city highway scheme, and many of those trees along the edges of the road will be performing a filter function and improving air quality. Next, please. We've not just dealt with big schemes, which were obviously delivered by contractors. We've done some smaller schemes, and these were also contractor-led. So the top one on the left is a row of cars that are parked on a central concrete area outside of a school. The cars are parked illegally, and they cause problems because as the vehicles move on and off that area, they're crossing traffic, and they're also very close to the entrance point of the school. So we have removed the concrete. We have planted 4 trees and some pollinator planting, as you can see on the right. The picture's not clear, unfortunately, because it's winter in England and nothing is yet very green. However, the cars have now been displaced to a much safer parking location. The students can look out onto a much nicer environment, and it's much safer now for the students accessing the college. So that's been a success. Also on the bottom, another smaller scheme in a hard landscape. The 2 small pictures on the left show images up either side of a business street that had absolutely no greenery at all. And then the picture on the right shows for this Stafford Street Fabric District area, a combined photograph once the trees have gone in. Next, please. That Stafford Street shot, the last one I talk about, has been particularly useful in that we've been able, through Mersey Forest, to commission some independent research and feedback on the benefits of that scheme. So 82% of the businesses on that road think that greening has had a really beneficial effect on their businesses. 94% of the local residents think that the area is now twice as good as it was before. 92% say that they think the area is actually attracting people and improving business. 68% of people say that the trees planted have encouraged them to spend more time outside. And 52% of businesses say that they think that they are getting significantly more footfall, and that's a big improvement on what the earlier pre-intervention data told us. And in addition, a number of cyclists are also saying that it's streets like this that actually encourage them to get on their bikes and travel to and from work or shopping, etc. So all in all, some quite positive feedback on that small scheme. Next, please. We've also attempted to plant trees in some really hard landscapes. So the top two pictures show a street in Liverpool, Business Street, where there is absolutely no greenery again. And despite the wide pavement, there's no opportunities to plant trees. There are too many cables, communications, utilities, etc. So the two bottom pictures to the left show that we have encroached onto the car parking areas. And we have put a number of trees in large containers to ultimately provide a leafy street in the future. Also, to the right at the bottom, you can see a row of very ugly concrete bollards. And we are currently today literally removing these bollards. And we have some more trees in containers that will go in the place of the bollards to serve a very similar function. And the idea of placing these trees in containers in these very difficult areas is that although the trees will grow and provide benefits for 4 to 5 years, we do know that at that point they will outgrow the area within the container. So we will harvest the trees and we will transplant them into our city parks where they can grow bigger, and we will replace them with smaller trees. And in this way, the city acts as an urban tree nursery, and those businesses continue to benefit from the presence and all the multiple benefits of the trees. Next, please. One of the tree initiatives that we did very early on in the project was about tree planting for community engagement. And we used our mobile forest, and this work was led by the Mersey Forest, our partners. And you can see that the mobile forest consists on the top picture of a hexagonal open-topped structure. It's like a very small room that you can walk into, and around the interior walls are trees and many plants. But when you step into that space, behind the trees and many plants, from floor to ceiling, effectively, the whole of the interior is mirrored. So when you walk into a very small space, it looks like you're actually in a much larger or a never-ending forest. And this project was launched back in June 2019 with Sir William Worsley, who is the UK DEFRA tree champion. And it was a really good way to talk to communities, engage them directly by going into the forest, the mobile forest, and understanding the value of trees in these really urban areas, city areas. The mobile forest has been to a number of other locations, and it is now about to go to a forest school within the city. Next, please. So I've talked a lot about the trees and the urban carbon sinks. Other urban carbon sink work that we've done, just very quickly here, we've got a number of floating islands. We've got a large one in the docks and a smaller one in the park, and they've got significant amount of vegetation on them, which again is providing additional urban carbon sinks. Next, please. We've also done a range of pollinator planting across the city, and this has included wildflower turf along highways, woodland planting under trees. We've got a pollinator balcony on one of the theatres. We've done some linear planting outside the college. We've also planted on lampposts with some smart pollinators. And again, collectively, these are also providing a number of urban carbon sinks in the city. Next, please. And then finally, at the moment we have two, although we have a third in progress. We have 2 living green walls in the city through the Urban GreenUp project. The first one, a very interactive wall on Parr Street, and then the bottom one on the shopping centre, and at 65 metres long, possibly one of the longest in the UK. And these are also providing urban carbon sinks in the city. Next, please. So thank you very much. I hope that's given you an insight into some of the work we've been doing in Liverpool, and my details are there. So if anyone's got any comments or wants to ask any questions, please get in touch. Thanks for doing the slides, Julia.
Thank you very much, Juliet, for your presentation as well. So now it's time for our third frontrunner city of the project, which is Izmir. I see Sinan, you're ready already to present. So I will give you now the possibility to share your screen so that you can start. 1 second. All right, you should now be able to share your screen. Yes, yeah. I see your slide.
Okay, hi everybody, I'm Sinan from Izmir Metropolitan Municipality. Thank you, Icons, giving opportunity to make this presentation. Today I will present you some of Nbs of Urban GreenUP project in the areas of renaturing, urbanization. I will shortly explain you the demo sites of all Urban GreenUP project implementations of Izmir. We choose the city of Karşıyaka and Chile because these cities are demonstrate the transition between urban, suburban, and rural areas of the city. At the east part here, at the east part here is very crowded Karşıyaka city center. We designed a green corridor that connects with the existing corridor and creates a network between rural areas and the city center. At the west part here, and there is rural area of Chile, which is also a wetland and using a salt work. This area under the threat of urbanization. At the areas renaturing urbanization, we implemented the Nbs of installation of parklets, arboreal areas, cycle and pedestrian route, planting trees, and urban carbon sink. And as general impacts of these implementations are reduction of air pollutants, a number of co-benefits including microclimate regulation through shading, habitat, and food provision for biodiversity, increasing community ties and creates public interaction opportunities, increased carbon sequestration, and increased bike and pedestrian mobility. And this is the map of interventions. And as you see, all the interventions of renaturing urbanization is implemented at the city center because all solutions needs to located at the crowded urban areas. First implementation of Izmir is installation of parklets. Parklets are on-street units with sitting equipment and plant containers. They are primarily designed to increase the amount of carbon sequestration as well as pollutants removal with their plant cover. It's some co-benefits. They are expected to attract some people to spend some time in a green space on a busy and dense urban fabric in Karşıyaka. And you see the map of location that we located parklets. A total of 4 parklets implementations were carried out on the Mushul route on the street. A parklet covers the area of 1 vehicle. That is an area of 2.5 to 5 square meters. And this is the photo of location, and you can see the area is used as a car parking lot here. And there are 3 parklet modules and 4 units of parklets installed in 2 different sites. This is the plan 3D view together with 3 modules. For each module, units provided approximately 18 square meters more green areas and shadow areas for each site. And this is the final view from parklets together with 2 modules here. And also in this view, you can see the another 2 modules at the opposite of the street. Another intervention of renaturing urbanization is arboreal areas. Around the parklets and green shaded structures, 26 trees will be planted for supporting the cooling effect. These trees will provide shady spaces for city dwellers, especially in hot summer months, habitat for insects and birds. As you see in the slide, we plant 7 trees in parklets. This is the photo of trees planted around parklets. And this is the final view from arboreal areas in parking lots in Sasalı. We planted 15 silver linden trees here. Cycle and pedestrian road in new green corridor. It is planned to be implemented new bicycle and pedestrian green road around the Peynircioğlu stream. The proposed green road offers a more comfortable, greener, and sustainable connection at the northern end of the city. We also designed 12.5 kilometers long cycling priority road, in addition to 10.5 existing bicycle road here. This is the general map of the green corridors, existing and new green corridors. Here you can see. In the map, the dashed line in the city center here is the green corridor around Peynircioğlu stream, and it connects to the blue line, which is existing bike lane surrounded to the Izmir Gulf. Here you can see the existing line. The other green dashed line at the rural area is cycling priority road here. Also, this cycling road connected with the Eurovelo road that Izmir recently attended. And we designed almost all cycle and pedestrian roads permeable by using this section around Peynircioğlu stream. From top to bottom, permeable concrete, compressed gravel, granular filler, and compressed soil are used. We implemented 3 kilometers long permeable cycle and pedestrian roads here. And this is the final view of cycle and pedestrian road. It is well implemented, and we observed in rainy days, and permeability is working well. And this is another final night view of cycle and pedestrian road. And this is also another view from the pedestrian road in the around the Peynircioğlu stream. Planting trees. A large number of trees are planted along the new green corridor. The main purpose is to increase the carbon sequestration and pollutants removal. We planted 20 different types of trees along the green corridor, and we mind to choose large leaved and endemic trees here. And this is the aerial view from the trees around Peynircioğlu stream, and we use 1,150 trees here, new trees here. You can see the another trees around the pedestrian road around Peynircioğlu stream. And this is also the cycle lane, and you can see the trees in the green corridor. This view is from another tree planted area that I mentioned to you before, the cycling priority road. We plant almost 1,300 trees along this road. Urban carbon sink. This is related to planting appropriate spaces around Peynircioğlu stream to increase carbon sequestration and pollutants removal, and provide habitat and food provision for biodiversity. We planted 20 different type of carbon capture spaces together with trees here. And this is the map of the spaces around Peynircioğlu stream. And there are another, these are another plants around pedestrian roads. And these are also the plants around pedestrian, another pedestrian road. And this is the, you can see the plants around the pollinator house here, and that I will present you later in the next presentations. Thank you to listening to me.
Hi, Sinan. Thank you very much for your presentation. And okay, so we have seen all presentations from our speakers. So I think we have now some time for questions from the audience to our speakers. There are two ways participants can ask questions. You can either use the question box that you should be able to see on your desktop, and there you can type the question, and then I will read it out loud. And it would help if you type the question, if you say explicitly to which city the question is addressed to, so that we know who is the speaker who should reply to your question. Alternatively, you can raise your hand if you want, and I will activate your microphone so that you can ask the question yourself. So thank you. Feel free to pose some questions if you like to. Okay, I see there is already some questions. So there is, okay, there's one question from Marianne for the city of Valladolid. So the question is about the community composting systems in Valladolid. How do you ensure the quality of the compost and prevent contamination of it with plastics or other waste?
Thank you for the question. In fact, the same people that is using the orchards, because we have 4 orchards in Valladolid with 50 plots in every orchard. The people that is using the orchard is using the composting facilities. So we apply for some kind of good practices with them, because in fact the compost that they are producing is for them. So we are not having any specific analytics of the soil, of the quality, because in fact it's like they build their own soil, just bringing and adding the byproducts of the urban orchards that they are exploiting, but also they bring food and some other products from home, just like coffee and other wastes. So in fact, the city council is not controlling anything because they control themselves. Although we are like managing the urban orchards, and we have contracted a company which is managing the orchards and give them like a specific technical advice about how to do it. And there is an agriculture engineer working with them that supports them with all the how to make the compost and how to do it safely for the environment and for themselves. So that's, I hope I answer your question.
Thanks, Alicia. The next question is from Balazs. I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Sorry if that's not the case. And it's for Liverpool. So they are. The question is, congratulations for your remarkable work on greening Liverpool. I was wondering how the world famous floating islands in Liverpool are shaping up. I noticed you did not have time to touch upon this. Can you share some updates?
Thank you for your interest. I will be talking more about the islands in the last of these seminars and workshops when we do the water interventions. But the islands are doing really well. The small one in the park has been adopted by the Friends of the Park group and is much loved, and we get lots of photographs about all the wildlife that visit it. The larger island in the dock was the first of its kind in many ways. We've had lots of interest from all around the world. And at the moment, we are in discussions about longer term and ongoing sponsorship. So yes, thank you for that. The islands are one of my favorites.
Thank you, Juliet. Then I see there was a question from Stephanie. The question was, can you tell us a bit more about how people reacted to the trees? Probably this was posted before I suggested to specify which city that should be. So maybe Stephanie, if you want, you can type again your question, and in the meantime specifying the city. In the meantime, I go to the next question, and hopefully we manage to make it to your question before the end of the webinar. Thank you very much. So the next question is from Jimena. It's a general question, so probably in this case maybe all cities can share their views. So the question is, which were the main challenges to implement these projects in the 3 cities? So I think the 3 cities are probably the 3 frontrunner cities. So maybe all our speakers from the 3 frontrunner cities of Urban GreenUP can maybe share a few words about the main challenges you have faced while developing the MBS you have presented today. Maybe, yeah, Alicia, if you want to start.
Yes, in fact, I could be talking for a week about the challenges that we faced implementing native solutions. In fact, we have challenges starting from technical ones. Where to install the native solutions, because in the urban space, especially in a city like Valladolid, from the Middle Age, we don't have enough space to build big schemes. So the first challenge is where to put the native solutions, and apart from historical buildings and protected buildings and archaeological areas. So this is technical issues. I have learned that there are so many professionals that develop and design native solutions. So at the end, technical issues can be solved. But we have also faces legal issues of not receiving the permissions from the River Duero Basin, which is the organization that manages the permission for water management. And they didn't give us permissions to build a few of water nature resolutions. And we also have administrative challenges because of the long and large timing of the public tendering processes. So we have been like almost a year for constructing native solutions since we have the project, then launching the tendering process and then constructing. So our timing is normally quite long. And we have also faced social challenges because not everyone likes what we are doing, even planting trees, but also advanced schemes of advanced native solutions like the ones that we will be presenting in the next webinars. Not everyone likes. So in fact, it's quite related with the political challenges because politicians want to be all the citizens to be happy. So it sometimes is quite challenging to manage the opinion of the citizens, and especially the 50% of the people that don't like what we are doing with Renaturine in the city. So as you can see, it's not easy from any point of view, even planting trees.
Thanks, Alicia. Maybe we can follow the order of the presentation. So Juliet, if you would like to add something about the challenges you have faced with your MBS in Liverpool.
Thank you. Alicia has summed it up very well, but I just jotted down that, some of the challenges are about the permissions, the approvals, the procurement, like Alicia said, was very lengthy. Sometimes it was hard to find special companies to do some of the works we wanted. We had issues post-COVID in getting contractors. They were all very busy. It was very difficult to get people to take on some of the work. Obviously, COVID itself posed a number of issues, not just in delays, but also, there was nobody to grow and plant on trees and flowers during that time period. And it was very difficult to get what we wanted afterwards. And Alicia's right, there are often many, many constraints on site as well. So yeah, it's not always as easy as it looks.
Thank you, Juliet. And Sinan, if you also would like to spend a few words about the challenges in Izmir.
Yeah, I can add something to other speakers. There have been some change in project areas in Izmir because there were an election and some project areas are changed. This was the problem, and projects are a bit late for Izmir. And also there were some in the pandemic time, and there were some problems, especially in supply. We have some supply problems, so it was another problem for us. But we overcome all of this. We implemented all the projects.
Thank you, Sinan. And actually, I think the next question is for you again, because it's about Smyrna or Izmir, and it's from Stephanie. And the question is, how did you get people to agree to get rid of parking and make parklets?
That affected people a bit that are living around the parklets, but we gained them a small pocket park and green areas there, and so they started to use the parklets then a bit time later, and especially in the pandemic period, they start to use the parklets. Public use is increased, so it's okay now for people are started to use it.
Thank you, Sinan. And the next question is for Turin, actually, for you, Laura. It's from Wu Jui. Sorry again for my pronunciation, which is for sure terrible. And it's about the butterfly garden. So the question is,
Yes.
it seems complex, involving with multiple stakeholders. How did the project start? What are the impacts of this project on human and nature interaction?
It's when the project started, the university and the mental health center, they meet before the starting of project. Then they are a group. They were a group, and they call themselves Farfalle in Tour. That is like a butterfly on tour, and they are also on the abacus of citizen science European citizen science project. Then they are a group and they are inside the city. Project take them on their train like that, and we did the connection with new schools, new place where they can go and talk about butterflies, and the response was very, very high, and we have a lot of schools that want those type of activities all around the city, not only in the district, and we are thinking about new projects and new funds for this, and all people are really excited about this part of the project. And also butterflies are a type of pollinator that not scare people, because other pollinators can scare people, but butterflies, they are also something that people want to look, want to approach without fear. Then it's particular, these things. And also we can create corridors for them, and we can and cities cannot be isolated place for them, and it's the same for mental illness people, because they are closed in their places normally, usually, and now they can go outside their places, and they can go to teach to other people how butterflies are important. And they are really citizen scientists. They are people very important for all of them, for children in schools, for teachers, and so on. Then it's really, really interesting to see it.
Thank you, Laura. The next question is from Sean, is again for pretty much all speakers. It's about terminology, about regarding the green corridor and carbon sink. So about the green corridor, the question is whether a green corridor has to have specific characteristics, for example, allowing wildlife to move along it in a protected manner. And regarding carbon sink, the question is what separates this from tree planting in general? So I don't know if you would like to, the first who would like to say something, please go ahead. Go,
I can start, but my answer is no. It's not about providing many information. In fact, I don't know if from a urban planning point of view, if there is some specific characteristics for an urban green corridor, but in fact, in Valladolid, we didn't consider any specific characteristics of that. Only just identifying a very well connected green path of different green areas which are interconnected, and that will allow connection of biodiversity and not only related with plants, but also with some birds and pollinators and other biodiversity and animals from the city. This is a must. So it has to be as green as possible, and all the natural areas has to be connected. But I don't know if there is an official definition of what a green corridor is.
Thank you. I don't know if you also would like to add something about carbon sinks, I mean, what separates this from tree planting in general, or if somebody else would like to add something about either the green corridor or carbon sink.
Just a little thing about the carbon sink. In fact, as we are registering our new carbon sink as a carbon dioxide project, because Valladolid wants to be a climate neutral city by 2030. So we are, in the past years, we are planting many trees and just keeping them and preserving them as carbon sinks. So one of the characteristics is not related with the size of the forest, but it has to be a completely new forest. You cannot start from an old forest in the past, so it has to be new trees. And on the other hand, the plot has to be preserved, and the trees have to be preserved for at least 30 years. So if you want to name an urban forest carbon sink, you need to think of the long time period.
Thanks, Alicia. And to the other speakers, have to add, would like to add anything to?
I can say about green corridor, we thought this green corridor in two directions, for people to go through the river and for pollinators to go into the grey city. This is our definition.
I think Laura's just summed it up nicely, because I'd say our green corridors are mainly about connectivity, and she's right. It's about connectivity for people, for pedestrians, to create safe green routes, maybe away from traffic where possible, or protected from traffic. And likewise, we don't really predetermine the types of nature-based solutions or the components, but it is about providing those stepping stones for biodiversity, and where possible, creating things like shade and color and interest to make the route more attractive, I suppose.
And for Izmir, about green corridor, the connectivity is important for us, like Liverpool. We created a green corridor that continues along the streamline, and also the corridor was also an important link connecting the city with the countryside. The special thing for green corridor of Izmir is that, I think.
Okay, thank you. So we can go to the next question, which is for Juliet, so for Liverpool. And the question is about how will you be funding maintenance once external funding has finished? For example, green wall. Sorry, 1 second. And also, how are you irrigating container trees? And have you thought of using air pods in order to live in situ? Maybe, I mean, it's 3 different questions, so if you want, we can go question by question. So the first one is about how you will you be funding maintenance once external funding has finished?
Okay, this is a really important consideration, and it's something we began to think about right at the very beginning. So we have 3 kind of main ways, 4 ways maybe, in which we will be looking at future maintenance. The first is that where we have things like the green walls, we have sought to place them on private businesses or private property or land. So although we have invested the capital sum to put the green intervention there, we have a legal agreement with the business owner who will maintain it in the long term, maintain that asset. So that's one way that we will no longer have to pay to maintain, for example, the green walls. For some other areas, things like tree planting, we have sought from a very early stage to include a very small dowry with each tree, with the costs of each tree, that passports to the city council and the maintenance contractors, so that the tree is established in the first few years, and as a result that reduces the ongoing maintenance costs for the council. We're also looking at sponsorship at the moment for a couple of the interventions that won't fall into the City Council programme and that aren't necessarily going to be maintained by private individuals. So we are talking to our business improvement district about them collectively, all the businesses paying a very small sum to collectively maintain these assets in the city. And then finally, we have worked hard with some of our communities, and through our co-creation, we're hoping that there will be some small groups that will community groups like the church, for example, the church gardening group, that may well adopt some of the nature-based solutions that are very close to them.
Okay, so the next is still for you, Juliet. I mean, the other sub-questions in this question. The next one is, how are you irrigating container trees?
Again, this is something that we did have to give some thought to. We have agreed that they will be maintained by the City Council, but we have put in a large self-irrigation reservoir in the base of the containers. So the trees don't need to be irrigated very, very regularly. We can allow the time in between waterings to increase slightly because there will be a water reservoir that is accessible. And we are hoping that it's the trees that are very close to the church, and the church have already said that they would really like to adopt the trees and maybe put some bulbs or some flowers around the base of the trees. So we're going to be talking to them in the hope that they may adopt and look after them in the future as well.
Thank you. And then the last part of this question is whether you have thought of using air pots in order to live in situ.
I think, yeah, some of the trees have come in air pots, and I think it's something that we are looking at. I don't think it's anything we've actually done on the tree works to date. Most have gone directly into the ground. But yes, I think we've designed the trees in the containers in such a way that we can take them out at a later date when they become larger. But there is the opportunity to consider something like air pots. Yeah.
Thank you, Juliet. Then we have another question from Nick, which is for all speakers. And the question is whether are people experiencing difficulties with antisocial behavior, such as graffiti, etc., on the new interventions, for example, on the parkets and so on. And if so, how are you managing this? Maybe, Alicia, you would like to have a start on this?
Yes, because I'm already suffering the effects of vandals in the street and painting my native solutions and so on. We have no idea how to do it. In fact, it's like fighting against vandalism. Exactly the same in the other areas of the city. In fact, here in Valladolid, I think that people like painting and adding plasters and so on to everything that they see in the street, because they don't realize that these infrastructures are also for them and for the citizens. What I did once, well, a couple of times, is calling to the police. I called to the local police on my own, telling them, please take care of these specific native solutions because we're facing vandalism. The people steals the plants, the people paints and make graffiti into the buildings and into the infrastructure that we have implemented. I didn't show you any example of green infrastructure because it will come in a couple of weeks, but what are we doing? Just reinforcing the local police, and we have a specific service of cleaning service for graffiti, which can be asked by every citizen in the city can ask for this service, and I had it to do it twice on my own and as being part of the city council, and I asked for this service to clean some of the graffiti. So how doing it? Engaging, disseminating, and green education and education of the citizens. This is one aspect we need to reinforce, I think, all of us.
If I can say something for Liverpool, we've had a little bit of antisocial behaviour. Our green wall, the main one, the first one, the one that is interactive and people can walk and touch, that remained fine for maybe 12 months. And then I think somebody who was very drunk tried to pull some plants out and they managed to damage a small part of it. We've also, in terms of, we're just putting our trees out in the containers. I'm waiting to see whether we get vandalism or painting or graffiti. I've already had one lady who was very keen to have the trees. They went in yesterday and already she's complaining that she doesn't want them there now. So these are all issues that, like Alicia says, we need to consider. But one of the things we're about to do is we're about to put signage up on all the interventions, and the signage will be very easy to read and understand signage, and it will tell the residents and the local people what the intervention is and the benefits it is providing for them. And that should be in place within the next couple of months. And I hope that that might go some way to preventing future vandalism or antisocial behaviour. Because if people realise that the trees have been put there for them and the benefits that they are providing, or the green wall has been put there for them, etc., maybe we will get less antisocial behaviour and vandalism.
Laura,
I can say,
yep, please.
Oh, sorry. I did same things Alicia mentioned, and I think that if those places will become more frequented, more used by people, they will become also owned by people, and then we can fight the vandalism. Only that.
Yeah, also it's same for us in Izmir. We have some graffiti problems, especially in parklets and all of our implementations. But we are regularly maintenance and clean them. So we are suffering them always. But I think it will change when people try to get used them. It will change, I guess. It will be less. We need less maintenance. But now it's there are very much vandalism in our implementations.
Thank you, Sinan. I see we are running a bit late, so maybe we can take a couple of more questions and then we can give our speakers some rest, some well-deserved rest. So the next question is again for our presenters. Can you let us know how and in which way did you engage citizens, especially in their participation in decision making? I don't know if who would like to start and say something. It's a very complicated question, of course, so there could be a long answer, but if you can say in just a few words.
Hello, I'll start. Okay, Laura, do you want to start?
Okay, we have this partner in Torino that is Fondazione Mirafiori, that is a hub of association in the district, and they helped us in all type of engagement with schools, with older people, with young people, and so on. Then that's my answer.
I'll continue and say we started talking to the residents and many local groups and businesses and schools right at the very beginning of the project. So we had some public consultation days, we've done some forums, we've done some workshops, I've gone out and given talks to groups. We've worked where we can with groups for co-creation to take their ideas, even things like what colours would you like the flowers to be on this site. So we've tried to involve lots of different people. But what I will say is this is where COVID was really unhelpful, because the minute we had the pandemic, it became very, very hard to continue that discussion with people. And indeed, for many people, it was no longer a priority. So towards the end of the project, the opportunities for that community engagement did fall away, and that was much harder.
We didn't do it very well. In fact, we try to talk to the citizens, and Juliet always shows much better examples of engaging in the community. Every time that the city council asks for a collaboration of the citizens, the percentage of population that comes to our talks and so on, it's very low. So even if when we have been implementing something in a specific streets, and once we deliver specific invitation to every portal of the street, and I think like even 15 people came to the talk to know what we were doing in the street. And then when we started the works and when we went to the machines to the street to start the construction, we receive many arguments. What is this? You didn't tell us what you are doing, and so on. And I could demonstrate that that was not true. But in fact, our citizens sometimes they see that organized by Valladolid City Council and the collaboration that we receive is not very high. So I'm open to new solutions for engaging the population.
And in Izmir, as for community engagement, we did, and especially for parklets, we did that and design workshop with the students and the professors from the universities, and also while during the implementation process and design process also, we work with the community leaders. In Turkey, there are community leaders, and we work with them also, the people that lives in that community. We try to do that like this way.
Thank you. Now let's go to our last question for today, which is a bit related to what we have just discussed, because it's again about citizens, and it's again for all speakers. So it's about the feedback of the citizens on the NBS that each city implemented. So even if there was pushback at the beginning, were people happy after they've been implemented, and do they realize the benefits? So if you would like to add something to what you have already said in the previous answer, please go ahead.
I'll start if you want. In terms of the feedback, I think most of it has been positive. We did try very hard, like Alicia said, to talk to people before we did things. It doesn't mean to say that it was always well received, but there were hopefully no nasty surprises. I also think that when you're improving an area and introducing greenery, for most people, that's very welcome. It's a good news story. Like Alicia, we did lots of letter drops and consultations. We didn't always get things back. And I often think that no news is good news, because if people don't like it, they often come back very quickly and complain quite loudly. So when you don't hear, sometimes we have to assume that all is good. So sometimes in those situations, I would knock on doors and just choose a few houses and just ask them if there were any problems. Yeah, I think that's it really. So we had a couple of objections. The main objection actually was to the largest floating island by one resident. And as a result of that, we agreed to do a 2-year trial, and that will be coming up for reassessment this May. But the lady that objected is no longer there, so I don't think it will be an issue to keep it now. So that was our experience in Liverpool.
No news, good news. It's a very good sentence. In fact, I have been searching the reactions in social media, and I can say that about 15% of the answers are negative, but the 85% of the answers of the citizens are normally positive. So in fact, the population, the citizens like what we are doing. In fact, one of our most innovative interventions that I will show you in 15 days was not very well received in the moment before the implementation, but after the implementation, we didn't receive any other argument of the citizens, even the neighbors that are living in the same street. So no news, good news. I think that they are working and the citizens like them.
In a meeting recently, some people said, why you are open this gardening box here in an open space where people can do vandalism and so on. And I said, it's better to do nothing, or it's better to try to do something with you also. And they didn't answer. Then I think this is a good thing to try to do. Yes, there is vandalism, but it's better to try to do something.
Julio, can you repeat the question? Is that
Sure.
what did you take the good feedback from the citizens?
Yes, 1 second. Yes,
Yeah.
basically the idea, the question is about the feedback of the citizens on the NBS that each city implemented. So even if there was the pushback at the beginning, were people happy with the NBS after it was installed? And if they realized the benefits of the NBS?
Yeah, especially in Izmir, people are happy with our green corridor implementation because the area is not used for people before. But now we implemented many trees and we designed a green corridor here, and people are happy to use it, I guess, and especially in the pandemic period. I don't know. I answered the question.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Sinan. I think we can stop here. It's already like half an hour more than the scheduled time. So thank you very much to everyone who attended this webinar, and of course to our speakers for their presentations and for taking the time to answer all the questions we received from the audience. The webinar has been recorded. The recording will be put online on the Urban GreenUp channel, so the website and the YouTube channel and on social media. And for those of you who haven't registered to the next two webinars of this series, you are very welcome to do so. The next one will be in a couple of weeks, and the third one at the beginning of April, to discover more about what Urban GreenUp has been doing in its cities in the past years. So thanks everyone again, and
thank you
see you in the next
for
meeting.
all attendees.
Bye.
Bye-bye.